They say blood is thicker than water. But what happens when your own family betrays you? When my parents threw us out based on my sister's lies, I never imagined my accounting skills would become the perfect weapon for exposing the truth. Get out. My father's voice was ice cold as he pointed to the door. I'm Eliza Mitchell, 34, a forensic accountant with a knack for finding financial discrepancies that others miss. What I couldn't find, however, was a way to make my parents believe that my 9-year-old daughter hadn't stolen their precious emergency fund. After my divorce from James 18 months ago, moving back in with my parents seemed like the smartest financial decision. The housing market in Connecticut was brutal, and saving for a down payment while paying for childcare would have been impossible on my own. My daughter Lily and I took the finished basement, which gave us some privacy while I rebuilt our lives from the ashes of a failed marriage. My sister Vanessa lived there too, the golden child who could do no wrong in our parents' eyes. At 31, she still occupied her childhood bedroom, supposedly saving for her dream condo while working as the office manager at a local law firm. My parents never questioned why that saving took years with no visible progress. The arrangement wasn't ideal, but it worked. Mom and Dad adored Lily, and having built-in childcare helped me focus on my career. I even picked up consulting work on fraud cases for the district attorney's office, which was bringing me professional recognition. Things weren't perfect, but they were stable, until the money disappeared. $7,000 doesn't just vanish, Elizabeth. Mom's face was flushed with anger as she stood behind Dad. That money was in the safe yesterday. Today it's gone, and the only person besides us who knows the combination is Lily. I felt my daughter trembling beside me. I didn't take it, Grandma, Lily whispered, tears streaming down her face. I promise. We showed her the combination in case of emergency, I explained for what felt like the 100th time. Why would she take it? Where would she even hide that much cash? Don't play dumb. Vanessa leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. I saw her sneaking around the office yesterday. She was acting weird. I turned to my sister, disbelief washing over me. She was looking for her science project materials. You know that. Dad's face hardened. We've searched everywhere except your things and Lily's. If you have nothing to hide, let us look. You want to search a child's belongings because you can't keep track of your money. My voice was rising despite my attempts to stay calm. This is insane. I'm a forensic accountant, for God's sake. I track financial crimes for a living. Why would I steal from you? Maybe because you're still bitter about that college fund they used for my business degree? Vanessa suggested with faux innocence. The comment stung like a slap. My college fund had indeed been reallocated for Vanessa's business school when I received an academic scholarship. The fact that she'd never actually used that degree was apparently irrelevant. I've never cared about that, I said, though we all knew it wasn't entirely true. Mom stepped forward. Either you let us search your things or you need to leave. We can't live with thieves. The word hung in the air like poison. Fine, search. But when you find nothing, I expect a full apology to Lily. I led them downstairs to our basement apartment. They tore through everything. Lily's stuffed animals, my work files, our clothing. Finding nothing, Dad looked almost disappointed. Maybe she hid it somewhere else, Vanessa suggested, never meeting my eyes. That's when I saw it, the slight curl at the corner of her mouth. The same tell she'd had since childhood when she was lying. A flash of clarity hit me. Vanessa knew exactly where that money was because she had taken it herself. Before I could voice my suspicion, Mom gasped. She was holding Lily's backpack, and from the front pocket, she pulled a folded envelope. Inside were 7 crisp $100 bills. That's not all of it, but it's proof, Dad said, his voice thick with righteous anger. I didn't put that there, Lily cried. Someone else did. I knew immediately who that someone was, but the damage was done. The way my parents looked at my daughter, my sweet, honest child, with such disgust broke something inside me. "We want you out by tomorrow," Dad said firmly. "I can't believe you would teach your daughter to steal from family." "This is ridiculous," I countered. "That money was planted. Lily would never—" "Enough excuses," Mom shouted. "First your failed marriage, now this? When will you take responsibility for anything?" The mention of my ex-husband was the final straw. I'd left James after discovering his gambling addiction had drained our savings and put us in debt. I'd been taking responsibility for others' messes my entire life. "We'll leave tonight," I said, my voice unnaturally calm. "Lily, pack only what you need." As we gathered our essentials, I caught Vanessa watching from the hallway, concern briefly flashing across her face. Not concern for us, concern that I might have figured her out. "Enjoying the show?" I asked quietly. "I'm sorry it came to this, Liz. Maybe if you'd raised her better." She shrugged, the perfect picture of sibling sympathy. "You know exactly what happened to that money," I whispered, "and I'm going to prove it." Something flickered in her eyes. Fear, perhaps, before she composed herself. Always the drama queen. No wonder James left. I didn't bother correcting her version of events. It wouldn't matter now. Instead, I focused on comforting Lily as we loaded our car with whatever we could fit. My daughter was inconsolable, not understanding why her grandparents believed she would steal from them, why her aunt would say such things, or why we had to leave the only stable home she'd known since the divorce. "Where are we going, Mom?" she asked between sobs as we pulled out of the driveway. "To a hotel for now," I assured her, "but soon we'll have our own place, I promise." I called my best friend Rachel, who worked with me at the accounting firm. She offered us her guest room until we figured things out. As I drove, my shock slowly transformed into something colder and more focused. My parents had always favored Vanessa. That wasn't new. But to believe she was entirely innocent, to accept that a 9-year-old would steal thousands of dollars and hide it in her own backpack, that level of blindness crossed a line I couldn't forgive. At Rachel's house, after Lily finally fell asleep, I sat at the kitchen table with a legal pad and began writing. Years of training in forensic accounting had taught me how to follow money trails, how to document suspicious behavior, and how to build cases against financial criminals. I'd never imagined using those skills against my own sister, but she'd left me no choice. "What are you doing?" Rachel asked, setting a cup of tea in front of me. "Building a case," I replied without looking up. "Vanessa has been manipulating my parents for years. This isn't just about the money she stole and pinned on Lily. There's more. I've suspected it for a while, but never had reason to investigate." "What do you mean?" I hesitated, then decided Rachel deserved the full story if she was going to shelter us. "My sister has been living with my parents rent-free for years, claiming she's saving for a condo. But she drives a new BMW and takes luxury vacations twice a year. Her job pays well, but not that well. And my parents' retirement fund has been shrinking faster than it should." Rachel's eyes widened. "You think she's been stealing from your parents all along?" "Not just stealing. I think she's been systematically draining their accounts for years, and they've been too trusting to notice. She has access to all their financial information. She helped them set up their online banking, for God's sake." "So what's your plan?" Rachel asked, concern etched on her face. I looked down at my notes. "First, I need proof. I still have the passwords to my parents' accounts. I helped them with taxes last year. I'm going to trace every unusual withdrawal, every unexplained expense. And then I'm going to build a case so airtight that not even my parents can deny it. And when I'm done, Vanessa will have to face consequences for what she's done, not just to me and Lily, but to them too." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the look on Lily's face when her grandparents accused her of stealing, about the smug expression Vanessa wore as we packed our things. The pain was still raw, but it was being channeled into something more productive than anger. determination. The next morning, I called in a favor with a colleague at the bank where my parents kept their accounts. Nothing illegal, just asking him to flag any unusual activity. Then I started digging into public records, property transactions, and loan applications. If Vanessa had been spending beyond her means, there would be evidence. Within days, I discovered she'd applied for a mortgage 3 months ago, not for a condo, but for a waterfront house in a prestigious neighborhood. The down payment listed was substantial, $95,000. On her salary, that kind of savings would have been impossible without significant financial help or years of extreme frugality, neither of which applied to my sister. I also found credit card statements showing regular transfers to offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. Small amounts, spread over time, but totaling nearly $50 or zero in the past year alone. The same pattern appeared in my parents' accounts. Small withdrawals that wouldn't raise immediate alarm, but added up to a substantial sum. The pieces were falling into place, but I needed more. I needed to understand why now. Why risk exposing her scheme by framing Lily? What had changed? The answer came when I discovered that my parents had recently updated their will. As their financial advisor's assistant owed me a favor for helping with a tax audit, she quietly confirmed what I suspected. My parents had changed their estate plan to leave their house to Vanessa and a much smaller cash sum to me. Their reasoning, according to the notes in their file, was that I had made poor financial decisions, and they wanted to ensure Lily's future by giving the more responsible sibling control of their estate. The will had been changed just 2 weeks before the missing money incident. It was all a setup. Vanessa had been systematically stealing from our parents while positioning herself as the responsible daughter. The missing emergency fund and framing Lily was just the final move to ensure I was completely cut out of the picture. "She's been planning this for years," I told Rachel as I laid out the evidence I'd gathered. "She's manipulated them into thinking I'm irresponsible while she's been robbing them blind." "What are you going to do?" Rachel asked, reviewing my findings with professional interest. As a fellow accountant, she appreciated the methodical documentation. "I'm going to build an undeniable case, and then I'm going to give her one chance to come clean," I said. "If she refuses, I'll take everything to my parents and, if necessary, to the authorities." Over the next 2 weeks, Lily and I settled into a routine. I found a modest apartment we could afford, enrolled her in a new school, and spent every free moment gathering evidence. The more I dug, the worse it got. Vanessa hadn't just been stealing money. She'd opened credit cards in our parents' names, taken out a home equity line of credit they knew nothing about, and even redirected some of their investment income to accounts only she could access. Meanwhile, my parents hadn't reached out once to check on their granddaughter. The betrayal stung, but it also hardened my resolve. This wasn't just about clearing our names anymore. It was about saving my parents from financial ruin at the hands of the daughter they trusted implicitly. 3 weeks after we'd been thrown out, I was ready. I compiled everything into a comprehensive report, the kind I'd prepare for prosecutors in a financial fraud case. Every transaction was documented, every discrepancy explained, and every lie exposed. Then I texted Vanessa, "We need to talk, alone. It's important." Her reply came hours later. "Nothing to talk about. It's about Mom and Dad's accounts, and the new mortgage in your name." That got her attention. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop downtown, neutral territory where she probably assumed I wouldn't make a scene. She arrived looking confident, dressed immaculately in designer clothes that her official salary couldn't possibly support. The sight of her made my stomach clench, but I maintained my composure. "You look terrible," she said as she sat down opposite me, though I guess that's to be expected. I didn't take the bait. Instead, I placed a folder on the table between us. "What's this supposed to be?" she asked, making no move to open it. "It's a complete record of every dollar you've stolen from Mom and Dad over the past 5 years, I said quietly. "It's every unauthorized withdrawal, every redirected investment, every credit card opened in their names. It's the home equity line you took out 3 months ago. It's the mortgage application for your new house that lists a down payment you couldn't possibly have saved legitimately. The color drained from her face, but she quickly recovered. That's ridiculous. You're just trying to shift blame because you can't accept that your daughter is a thief. We both know Lily didn't take that money. You planted those hundreds in her backpack after you took the rest of the cash. What I don't understand is why. You've been stealing from them for years without getting caught. Why risk exposure now? She stared at me for a long moment, calculation visible behind her eyes. Finally, she laughed softly. You always were too smart for your own good, Liz. But it doesn't matter what you think you know. Mom and Dad will never believe you over me. They never have. This isn't about belief, I replied, tapping the folder. This is about facts. Numbers don't lie, Vanessa. And there's enough evidence here to not only convince Mom and Dad, but to send you to prison for fraud and identity theft. For the first time, genuine fear flickered across her face. You wouldn't dare. We're family. You stopped treating us like family the moment you framed my daughter as a thief. My voice remained steady despite the anger churning inside me. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to confess to Mom and Dad. You're going to tell them exactly what you did and why. You're going to apologize to Lily for the trauma you caused her. And you're going to return every dollar you stole. She leaned back, crossing her arms defensively. And why would I do any of that? Because if you don't, I'm taking this to the district attorney tomorrow morning. The same district attorney I've been consulting for on fraud cases for the past 3 years. The same district attorney who owes me several favors. You're bluffing, she said, but uncertainty had crept into her voice. I stood up, gathering the folder. You have until tomorrow at noon to come clean to Mom and Dad. After that, I go to the authorities with everything. Your choice, Vanessa. As I turned to leave, she grabbed my wrist. Wait, you don't understand. I needed that money. I have problems. I looked down at her perfectly manicured hand on my arm. We all have problems. The difference is, I didn't steal from family to solve mine. Walking away from that coffee shop, I felt neither triumph nor satisfaction, just a hollow ache for what our family had become. But underneath that pain was something else, the quiet certainty that justice was finally within reach, and that the truth, no matter how painful, would soon come to light. Whether Vanessa would confess or force my hand remained to be seen. Either way, the carefully constructed web of lies she'd built was about to unravel. And I would be there to witness it, calculator in hand and evidence at the ready. The first domino was set to fall. All I had to do now was wait. The clock on my dashboard read 12:03 p.m. as I sat in the parking lot across from my parents' house. I'd given Vanessa until noon to come clean, and now it was time to see if she'd made the right choice. I hadn't slept well the night before. Lily had woken up crying again, asking when she could see her grandparents. Explaining complex adult betrayals to a 9-year-old was nearly impossible, especially when I was still processing everything myself. Remember, you're not doing this for revenge, Rachel had reminded me that morning as I prepared to leave. You're doing this to protect your parents and clear Lily's name. She was right, of course. This wasn't about getting even. It was about setting things right. Still, I couldn't deny the cold satisfaction I felt knowing Vanessa would finally face consequences for her actions. I checked my phone one last time. No messages from my sister, which didn't surprise me. Taking a deep breath, I grabbed the folder containing all my evidence and walked toward the house I'd grown up in, the house I'd been thrown out of less than a month ago. Mom answered the door, her expression shifting from surprise to guarded hostility when she saw me. Elizabeth, what are you doing here? She didn't invite me in. I need to talk to you and Dad. It's important. If this is about moving back in, it's not, I interrupted. It's about your money. All of it, not just the emergency fund. Something in my tone must have concerned her, because she hesitated, then stepped aside. Your father's in his office, she said stiffly. I found him sitting at his desk, going through a stack of bills with a concerned expression. He looked older than he had a month ago, the lines around his eyes deeper, his shoulders slightly stooped. For a moment, my resolve wavered. This would devastate him. He glanced up, startled. Elizabeth? What are you doing here? Where's your sister? The question caught me off guard. Isn't she here? She left early this morning, said she had some business to take care of. His eyes narrowed. Why are you asking about Vanessa? Before I could answer, Mom joined us. What's this about our money? I took a seat across from my father and placed the folder on his desk. Before I show you this, I want to ask you something. Have you checked your accounts recently? Your investments? The equity in this house? They exchanged worried glances. We've been meaning to, Dad admitted. Our financial advisor has been trying to schedule a review for weeks, but Vanessa kept saying she'd handle it. I think it's time you looked for yourselves, I said quietly, opening the folder. For the next hour, I walked them through everything I'd discovered. The unauthorized withdrawals, the redirected investments, the credit cards and loans opened in their names, the steady, systematic bleeding of their retirement funds. With each revelation, their expressions shifted from disbelief to horror to a devastating realization. This can't be right, Mom whispered, though the proof was irrefutable. Vanessa wouldn't do this to us. She's been stealing from you for years, I said gently. And when I started to suspect something, she created a diversion by taking your emergency fund and framing Lily. Dad had been silent, methodically reviewing each document with the attention to detail that had made him successful in his engineering career. Now he looked up, his eyes red-rimmed. Why didn't we see this? He asked, his voice breaking. How could we be so blind? The question wasn't directed at me, but I answered anyway. Because she's your daughter and you trusted her. She counted on that. Mom was still shaking her head in denial. But the money we found in Lily's backpack was planted there by Vanessa. I finished. She took the full $7,000, kept most of it, and put just enough in Lily's backpack to make her look guilty. Have you spoken to your sister about this? Dad asked, his tone hardening as the shock gave way to anger. Yesterday. I gave her until noon today to confess everything to you. He checked his watch. It's almost 1. She's not coming, is she? I don't think so. Dad stood up abruptly, grabbing his phone. He dialed Vanessa's number, putting it on speaker. The call went straight to voicemail. We need to call the bank, Mom said, moving into action. And the credit card companies. We need to freeze everything. I'd already anticipated this. I've prepared a list of all the accounts you need to secure and drafted a fraud report you can file with the authorities. Dad looked at me with a mixture of gratitude and regret. You've been thorough. It's what I do for a living, I reminded him. Finding financial discrepancies, following money trails. As they made calls and filled out forms, the full impact of Vanessa's betrayal sank in. According to my calculations, she'd stolen over $300,000 from them in the past 5 years, a significant portion of their retirement savings. The home equity line of credit she'd taken out had reduced their property equity by another $150. All told, their net worth had been nearly cut in half. We might have to sell the house, Dad said quietly when the immediate crisis management was done. Even if we recover some of the money, the damage. I know. I squeezed his hand. I'm so sorry. Mom had been unusually quiet, processing everything in her own way. Now she looked at me with tears streaming down her face. And we accused Lily. We threw you both out. Her voice cracked. How can you ever forgive us? It was the question I'd been dreading. The truth was, I wasn't sure forgiveness was possible yet. The hurt was still too raw. The betrayal too profound. Right now, let's focus on stopping the bleeding and seeing what we can recover, I said, avoiding a direct answer. We should file a police report. Dad shook his head. She's still our daughter, Elizabeth. A daughter who stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from you and framed her 9-year-old niece, I pointed out. This isn't a misunderstanding. It's systematic fraud. We need time to think, Mom insisted, to process all of this. I bit back my frustration. Even faced with irrefutable evidence, they were hesitating to hold Vanessa fully accountable. Some patterns never change. At least let me help you secure your accounts and start the recovery process, I offered. Whatever you decide about pressing charges, you need to protect what's left. They agreed to that much, and we spent the rest of the afternoon making calls, changing passwords, and documenting the fraud for the banks and credit agencies. By evening, the immediate financial hemorrhage had been stopped, but the emotional wounds were still gaping. Will you stay for dinner? Mom asked tentatively as the sun began to set. We'd like to see Lily, to apologize. The request caught me off guard. She's with Rachel tonight, I said, and I'm not sure she's ready. She still has nightmares about being called a thief. Mom flinched at that, but nodded in understanding. When you think she's ready then, and when you're ready. I gathered my things, exhausted by the emotional toll of the day. I'll keep you updated on any responses from the financial institutions. Some of the money might be recoverable, especially the recent withdrawals. As I headed for the door, Dad called after me. Elizabeth, thank you for uncovering the truth, even though it must have been difficult. The simple acknowledgement brought unexpected tears to my eyes. It was the right thing to do. We should have trusted you, he admitted. And Lily, we were wrong, and we're sorry. It was a start, but the road to rebuilding trust would be long and uncertain. I drove home in a daze, emotions swirling, relief that the truth was out, anger that my parents still hesitated to hold Vanessa fully accountable, grief for the family bonds that might never be repaired, and underneath it all, a nagging worry. Where was Vanessa now, and what would she do when she realized her scheme had been exposed? The answer came at 3 a.m. when my phone rang, jarring me from a restless sleep. Elizabeth? It's Dad. Vanessa just showed up here. She's not well. She's saying all kinds of things, claiming you're framing her. She wants to talk to you. I sat up, instantly alert. Put her on the phone! There was a shuffle, then my sister's voice, shrill and desperate. What did you tell them? What have you done? I showed them the truth, Vanessa, just like I said I would. You've ruined everything, she hissed. You couldn't just let it go, could you? Always the perfect daughter, always so righteous. This isn't about me, I said calmly. This is about the money you stole and the lies you told. I deserve that money. Her voice cracked with emotion. You have no idea what I've been dealing with. The debts, the people I owe. What people, Vanessa? What have you gotten yourself into? There was a long pause, then a bitter laugh. Like you care. You've already destroyed me in their eyes. There's nothing left to lose. The line went dead. I immediately called back, but Dad answered. She's gone, he said, his voice tense. Stormed out. Should we be worried? I don't know, I admitted. But what she said concerns me. It sounds like she might be in some kind of trouble beyond just the stealing. Watch your house and your cars, and call me if she comes back. Sleep was impossible after that. I paced my small apartment, mind racing with possibilities. What debts was Vanessa referring to? Who were these people she owed? Had she gotten involved with loan sharks or worse? By morning, I had a plan. If Vanessa was in serious trouble, there would be evidence. In her bank records, her phone records, her social media. As a forensic accountant, I had contacts who could help me dig deeper. Legally. I called Rachel and asked her to take Lily for the day, then reached out to a private investigator I'd worked with on several fraud cases. "Mark, I need a favor," I explained after outlining the situation. "I need to know what my sister's been involved in. The stealing isn't the whole story." "I'll see what I can find," he promised. "But Elizabeth, be careful. If she's involved with dangerous people, exposing her could have consequences." "I just need to know what we're dealing with," I insisted. "My parents could be at risk." While Mark worked his sources, I drove back to my parents' house. They looked exhausted, having barely slept after Vanessa's middle-of-the-night visit. "I think there's more going on," I told them. "Vanessa mentioned debts and people she owes. I'm concerned she might be in real trouble." "What kind of trouble?" Mom asked, fear evident in her voice. "I don't know yet, but her behavior, the escalating theft, the desperate measures, framing Lily, it suggests she's under significant pressure." Dad ran a hand over his face. "We should call the police." "Not yet," I cautioned. "Let me find out more first. If she's mixed up with dangerous people, we need to be strategic about how we handle this." They reluctantly agreed, and I spent the day helping them continue the financial damage control. We discovered additional accounts we hadn't known about the day before, including offshore transfers that would be nearly impossible to recover. The picture grew increasingly grim, with my parents facing potential bankruptcy if they couldn't recoup enough of their losses. Late in the afternoon, Mark called with his preliminary findings. "Your sister's in deep, Elizabeth," he said without preamble. "From what I can gather, she's been gambling. High-stakes online poker, sports betting, the works. And she's been losing. Big time." "How big?" "Based on the accounts I've managed to track, she's at least $500,000 in the hole, probably more. And some of her creditors aren't the type who send polite collection notices." My blood ran cold. "You mean she owes money to criminals?" "Let's just say there are some very concerning wire transfers to individuals with known connections to illegal gambling operations. And based on the timeline, her theft from your parents accelerated about 3 months ago, right around when these payments started." It was all making horrifying sense. Vanessa hadn't just been stealing out of greed or entitlement, she'd been trying to pay off gambling debts to potentially dangerous people. And when the regular siphoning of funds wasn't enough, she'd resorted to more desperate measures, taking the emergency fund, framing Lily, ensuring I was completely out of the picture so I wouldn't discover what she was doing. "What should I do, Mark? My parents could be in danger if these people come looking for her or their money." "First, secure your parents' home. Change the locks, install a security system if they don't already have one. Second, document everything, every threat, every unusual occurrence. And third, consider going to the police. This is beyond family drama now." After thanking him, I shared everything with my parents. The color drained from their faces as they realized the full extent of the situation. "We need to find her," Dad said firmly. "If she's in this kind of trouble, she needs help. She also needs to face consequences," I reminded him. "She's committed serious crimes." "One step at a time," Mom interjected. "First, we find her and make sure she's safe. Then we figure out the rest." Finding Vanessa proved easier than expected. As we were discussing options, my phone chimed with a text from an unknown number. "Meet me at Harborview Park, 7 p.m. Come alone or I tell everyone what really happened with James and why your marriage ended. Your choice, big sister." I showed the message to my parents. "She's trying to manipulate me again." "What is she talking about?" Mom asked. "About James?" I hesitated. "Nothing that matters now. It's just another attempt to control the narrative." "You can't go alone," Dad insisted. "It could be dangerous." "I'll be careful," I promised, "and I'll meet her in a public place, but she won't talk if anyone else is there." Despite their objections, I left for Harborview Park, but not before taking precautions. I called Mark and asked him to be nearby, watching from a distance. I activated a location-sharing app on my phone and shared it with my parents and Rachel. and I recorded a statement detailing everything that had happened, in case something went wrong. Harborview Park was busy with early evening joggers and dog walkers when I arrived. I spotted Vanessa sitting on a bench overlooking the water, her normally perfect appearance disheveled. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. "You came alone," she observed as I sat beside her, maintaining a careful distance. "What do you want, Vanessa?" She laughed hollowly. "What do I want? I want my life back. The life you destroyed when you went digging into things that weren't your business." "You made it my business when you framed my daughter as a thief," I replied evenly. "But that's not why you asked me here. What's really going on?" She was silent for a long moment, watching the waves lap against the shore. "I need money, Elizabeth. A lot of it. Very quickly." "For your gambling debts?" Her head snapped toward me, eyes wide. "How did you—" "I'm a forensic accountant, remember? Following money is what I do. And you've left quite a trail." She deflated visibly. "Then you know why this is serious. These aren't people you can negotiate with or stall. They want their money, and if I don't pay—" She let the implication hang in the air. "So that's why you wanted me here? To ask for money?" "I need $200,000 by Friday." Her voice was barely a whisper. "You have access to accounts through your firm. You could move funds temporarily, cover it up. No one would know." I stared at her in disbelief. "You want me to embezzle money from my company to cover your gambling debts? After everything you've done?" "It would just be borrowing," she insisted. "I have a system. I can win it back, pay you back, fix everything." "That's not how gambling addiction works, Vanessa, and what you're suggesting is a crime." "Like you've never bent the rules?" she sneered. "What about the real reason James left? The money that mysteriously appeared to pay off his gambling debts? Where did that come from, I wonder?" I felt a chill. She was referring to a dark moment in my own past, when I'd been desperate to protect my family from James's creditors. I'd done something I wasn't proud of, something only James and I knew about. Or so I thought. That was different. I said quietly, "Was it? Or are you just better at justifying your crimes than I am?" Her eyes gleamed with desperate calculation. "Help me, or I tell Mom and Dad everything about their perfect elder daughter. And the authorities." It was blackmail, plain and simple. And it revealed just how far gone Vanessa truly was. "I can't help you embezzle money," I said firmly. "But I can help you get real help. Treatment for gambling addiction, legal counsel for the fraud charges, a structured plan to make restitution." "I don't have time for that," she hissed. "You don't understand what these people will do." "Then go to the police. Tell them everything. Get protection." She laughed bitterly. "You think the police can protect me? You have no idea who I'm dealing with." "Then help me understand," I pleaded, a genuine concern breaking through my anger. Despite everything, she was still my sister. "Who are these people, Vanessa?" She hesitated, then leaned closer. "I started small, just online poker. But then I found this exclusive club, invitation only, high rollers. I was winning at first. Enough to keep up my lifestyle and pay back what I'd borrowed from Mom and Dad. But then I started losing, big. And when I couldn't pay, they offered me a loan." "Loan sharks," I muttered. "Worse. The club is owned by the Casanova Group. Look them up if you don't know the name." I did know it. The Casanova Group was a shell company rumored to be connected to organized crime, specifically money laundering and illegal gambling. If Vanessa had borrowed from them, she was in far deeper trouble than I'd imagined. "How much do you actually owe them?" She wouldn't meet my eyes. $500,000. The $200,000 is just the minimum payment to keep them at bay. The sum was staggering. And you thought stealing from our parents would cover it. "It was supposed to be temporary," she cried. "I just needed enough to place a few strategic bets, win back what I owed. It snowballed." I took a deep breath, trying to process everything. "Vanessa, you need to go to the FBI. This is beyond local police. The Casanova group has been under federal investigation for years." "They'll kill me," she whispered. "Or worse, they'll hurt Mom and Dad." "They know where they live. They know about you and Lily, too." The mention of my daughter sent ice through my veins. "You brought these people into our lives? You put Lily at risk?" "I didn't mean to." Tears streamed down her face now. "Please, Elizabeth, I'm begging you, help me fix this." I stood up, mind racing. This had escalated beyond family drama, beyond financial fraud. My sister had entangled our entire family with dangerous criminals. "I need time to think," I said finally. "I can't promise anything about the money, but I'll try to figure out a way to keep everyone safe." "I don't have time," she pleaded. "Friday, Elizabeth. That's all I have." "I'll call you tomorrow," I said, already walking away, needing distance to think clearly. As I reached my car, my phone rang. It was Mark. "I heard everything," he said without preamble. "Your sister's in serious trouble." "What do I do?" I asked, my voice shaking for the first time since this ordeal began. "Meet me at my office, now, and call your parents. Tell them to pack a bag and go somewhere safe. A hotel under different names. We need to move quickly." As I drove to Mark's office, the reality of our situation sank in. This wasn't just about clearing Lily's name anymore, or even about holding Vanessa accountable for her theft. It had become a dangerous game with potentially lethal consequences. The forensic accountant in me knew what needed to be done: follow the money, document everything, build a case. But the sister and daughter in me was terrified for my family's safety. One thing was certain: the family I'd known was crumbling beyond repair, and the coming days would determine whether anything could be salvaged from the ruins. Mark's office was in a nondescript building downtown, the kind of place that intentionally avoided drawing attention. Inside, the space was sparse but functional: computer screens displaying data streams, filing cabinets lining the walls, and a large whiteboard covered with notes and connections that looked like something from a crime procedural. "Your sister's situation is worse than I thought," Mark said without preamble as I took a seat across from his desk. "The Casanova group doesn't play games. If she owes them $500,000, they're going to collect one way or another." "What options do we have?" I asked, struggling to keep my voice steady. Mark leaned back in his chair. "There are 3 paths forward, none of them easy. First, somehow come up with the money, which I'm guessing isn't realistic." I shook my head. My parents' savings are depleted, my own finances are stretched thin after the divorce, and I'm not embezzling from my firm. Second option, Vanessa turns state's evidence. The FBI has been building a case against the Casanova group for years. Her testimony could be valuable, especially with your financial forensics expertise to back it up. "Witness protection," I murmured, the implications sinking in. She'd have to disappear, start over completely. And so might your parents, potentially even you and Lily, depending on how vindictive these people are, Mark confirmed grimly. "It's not a decision to take lightly." "And the third option?" Mark's expression hardened. "Your sister runs, changes her identity, goes off-grid, and hopes they never find her. It rarely works, but some people prefer taking their chances to working with authorities." I massaged my temples, trying to process everything. Has she really left us no better options? I'm afraid not. When you dance with the devil, the music eventually stops. Mark pulled out a folder and slid it across the desk. "This is everything I've gathered on the Casanova Group's operations in this region. Names, locations, financial structures. If you decide to go to the FBI, this will help establish credibility." "I need to talk to my parents first," I said, taking the folder. "And figure out what Vanessa is willing to do. She might not cooperate." "You don't have much time," Mark warned. "Friday is 3 days away." I thanked him and left, my mind racing. On the drive to the hotel where my parents were staying, I called my office and requested emergency personal leave. My boss, understanding the gravity without needing details, approved it immediately. My parents had checked into a modest hotel on the outskirts of town under my mother's maiden name. They looked shell-shocked, sitting side by side on the edge of the bed, the reality of their situation finally sinking in. "Is it really that serious?" Dad asked after I explained what Mark had told me. "Yes," I said simply. "These people don't make idle threats, and Vanessa has entangled all of us in this mess." "Where is she now?" Mom asked, wringing her hands. "I don't know. She texted me the meeting location from a burner phone, and she hasn't responded to my messages since." Dad stood up and began pacing the small room. "We need to go to the police." "Not the police," I corrected. "The FBI. And before we do that, we need to decide as a family what we're willing to sacrifice." "What do you mean?" Mom's voice trembled. I took a deep breath. "If Vanessa cooperates with the FBI against the Casanova group, witness protection is likely the only safe option. That means new identities, new locations, leaving everything behind." The silence that followed was heavy with implications. "Everything?" Dad finally asked. "Our home, our friends, our lives?" "Everything," I confirmed. "And there's no guarantee Vanessa will agree to it. She might choose to run instead." "After everything she's done, she wouldn't even do this to make things right?" Mom's voice cracked with disbelief. "We won't know until we ask her," I said. "But first, we need to decide what we're prepared to do if she does agree. Because this affects all of us, including Lily." The mention of my daughter brought a fresh wave of guilt to my parents' faces. "How is she?" Mom asked softly. Confused, hurt. She doesn't understand why her grandparents believed she would steal, why we had to leave so suddenly. I couldn't keep the edge from my voice. "She's having nightmares." Dad's shoulders slumped. "We were wrong, Elizabeth. Terribly, inexcusably wrong. If we could take it back." "But you can't," I said flatly. "And now we all have to live with the consequences of Vanessa's actions and your choices." "And yours," Mom pointed out quietly. "You're the one who uncovered everything, who pushed for the truth." I met her gaze steadily. "Would you rather have remained ignorant while Vanessa drained your accounts and potentially got you involved in criminal activity? Because that's where this was heading." She looked away, unable to argue the point. "We need to find your sister," Dad said, returning to the immediate problem. "Whatever happens next, we need to talk to her directly." As if on cue, my phone rang. Another unknown number. "Is that her?" Mom asked hopefully. I checked the screen and nodded before answering. "Vanessa?" "Did you think about what I asked?" Her voice was tense, almost frantic. "I did. But what you're asking isn't possible. There are other options we need to discuss in person." "You mean turning myself in?" Her bitter laugh crackled through the speaker. "Become a snitch and spend the rest of my life looking over my shoulder?" "No thanks. It's witness protection, Vanessa. A chance to start over with a clean slate." "A clean slate where I lose everything, my identity, my friends, my life? That's not a solution, it's a different kind of prison." I pressed the speaker button so our parents could hear. Mom and Dad are with me. They know everything now, about the gambling, about the Casanova group. There was a long silence. "You had no right to tell them," she finally said, her voice small. "They're in a hotel under fake names because their house might not be safe," I retorted. "They deserve to know why." "I never meant for any of this to happen," she whispered. "It started so small. Just a few games? Just a little money from their accounts that I was going to replace. Then it spiraled, and I couldn't stop." "We know, sweetheart," Mom said, leaning toward the phone. "Addiction is a disease. We're not angry anymore, just worried. Please, let us help you." "How?" Vanessa asked, desperation seeping through. How can you possibly help when I owe $500,000 to people who break kneecaps for fun? Dad cleared his throat. We go to the FBI, together, as a family. We tell them everything and ask for their protection. You don't understand what you're asking, Vanessa protested. These people have connections everywhere. What if the FBI can't protect us? What if we go into witness protection and they still find us? It's a risk, I acknowledged. But it's the best option we have. The alternative is you running forever, or worse. She was quiet for a moment. I need to think. It's too much. We don't have time for you to think, I said firmly. Friday is coming fast. We need to move now, before these people get impatient. Just give me until tomorrow morning. I'll meet you at the hotel. Text me the details. The line went dead before we could respond. She's stalling, I said, frustrated. Every hour we wait is dangerous. She's scared, Mom countered. This is her life we're talking about changing forever. It's all our lives, I reminded her. Lily's included. Vanessa brought these criminals into our family orbit. If they're as dangerous as Mark says, they might view all of us as leverage over her. Dad put a hand on my shoulder. One night, Elizabeth. Give her until morning. If she doesn't show up, we go to the FBI without her. I reluctantly agreed, then excused myself to call Rachel. I needed to check on Lily and make arrangements for her continued safety. Everything's fine here, Rachel assured me when she picked up. Lily's watching a movie. She seems better today. Fewer questions about when you're coming home. Thank you for taking care of her, I said sincerely. Things are complicated. It might be a few more days before this is resolved. Take whatever time you need. She's safe with me. Rachel paused. Are you safe? You sound stressed. I hesitated, then decided my closest friend deserved the truth. The situation with Vanessa is worse than I thought. She's mixed up with some dangerous people. We're trying to figure out next steps. Do you need me to bring Lily somewhere safer? My sister's place in Vermont, maybe. The offer was tempting. Let me see how things play out tomorrow. If necessary, I might take you up on that. After hanging up, I returned to my parents' room to plan our next moves. We spent hours discussing contingencies, what witness protection might mean, how to handle our finances and legal obligations if we had to disappear. The conversation was surreal. 3 middle-class professionals calmly discussing abandoning our entire lives because of Vanessa's gambling addiction and poor choices. None of us slept well that night. I took the adjoining room, leaving the door cracked so I could hear if anything happened. Every sound in the hallway, every car in the parking lot had me on edge, imagining Casanova enforcers tracking us down. Morning came with no word from Vanessa. I texted the hotel details as promised, but received no response. By 10 a.m., we were all pacing anxiously, watching the door. She's not coming, I finally said at 11:30. We need to act now. Dad nodded reluctantly. I'll try calling her one more time. His call went straight to voicemail. Mom tried next, with the same result. That settles it, I said, gathering my things. We go to the FBI. As I reached for my jacket, my phone chimed with a text. Unknown number. Check your email. I quickly opened my email app. There was a new message from an address I didn't recognize, with the subject line, for Elizabeth only. The body of the message was brief. I can't do it. I can't drag everyone down with me. I've made arrangements to disappear. Don't look for me. Tell Mom and Dad I'm sorry for everything. Take care of them and Lily. Attached was a document, a confession. Vanessa had detailed everything. The theft from our parents, framing Lily, the gambling debts, the involvement with Casanova. She'd signed it and had it notarized, making it a legally binding admission of guilt. She's running, I told my parents, showing them the email. And she's giving us a confession to clear Lily and potentially protect ourselves. Mom began to cry. We'll never see her again. Maybe that's for the best, Dad said quietly. After everything she's done. I felt a complex mix of emotions, relief that Vanessa had at least given us this documentation, anger that she was once again taking the easy way out, fear for what might happen to her on the run, and lingering resentment for what she'd done to Lily and our parents. We still need to go to the FBI, I insisted. This confession doesn't protect us from Casanova if they decide we're worth pursuing to get to her. We checked out of the hotel and drove directly to the nearest FBI field office. I'd called ahead, mentioning the Casanova group and financial crimes, which was enough to secure us a meeting with Special Agent Diane Harper, a no-nonsense woman with sharp eyes and a reputation for breaking open money laundering cases. "Let me get this straight," Agent Harper said after we'd explained our situation. "Your sister embezzled hundreds of thousands from your parents to pay gambling debts to the Casanova group, framed your 9-year-old daughter when you got suspicious, and has now disappeared, leaving behind a confession." "That's the condensed version," I confirmed, sliding across the folder Mark had prepared along with copies of my own financial evidence and Vanessa's confession. Agent Harper reviewed the documents with practiced efficiency. "This is certainly enough to open an investigation. The Casanova connection is particularly interesting to us." "What about our safety?" Dad asked. "If these people are as dangerous as we've been told, we'll assign protective surveillance to your residences and workplaces immediately," she assured him. "As for longer-term options, that depends on how valuable your sister's information proves to be and whether we can locate her." "You mean witness protection?" Mom asked anxiously. "That's a possibility, but a remote one without your sister's direct testimony," Agent Harper explained. "The confession helps, but it's not the same as having her cooperate in person." We spent hours providing statements, signing documents, and answering questions about Vanessa's activities, associates, and habits. By the time we left the FBI office, it was dark outside, and we were emotionally exhausted. "You're welcome to stay with me tonight," I offered my parents as we walked to our cars. "My apartment is small, but there's a pull-out couch." They exchanged glances. "We appreciate that," Dad said. "But we need to go home, at least to pack some essentials. The FBI said they'd have agents watching the house." I nodded, understanding their need for familiar surroundings after such a tumultuous day. "Call me when you get there, and again before you go to sleep. I want to know you're safe." As we parted ways, Mom hugged me tightly. "When can we see Lily?" she asked, her voice small. "We need to apologize to her in person." "Soon," I promised. "Let me prepare her first." I drove straight to Rachel's house, desperate to see my daughter after the emotional roller coaster of the day. Lily was already in pajamas, her hair damp from a bath, when I arrived. "Mommy," she cried, running into my arms. "Are we going home now?" I held her close, inhaling the sweet scent of her shampoo. "Not tonight, sweetie, but soon we'll have our own place again." After Lily was asleep in Rachel's guest room, I filled my friend in on everything that had happened. "My God, Elizabeth," she breathed when I finished. "This is like something from a movie. Are you okay?" "I don't know," I admitted. "My sister is missing, possibly in danger. My parents' financial security is decimated. My daughter still has nightmares, and we might all need to disappear into witness protection." "Okay," doesn't really apply. "What can I do to help?" I squeezed her hand gratefully. "You're already doing it. Keeping Lily safe and giving us a place to stay is everything right now." That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, running through contingencies and worst-case scenarios. Where was Vanessa now? Had she really managed to disappear, or was she in immediate danger from her creditors? Would the FBI's protection be enough if the Casanova group decided to make an example of our family? My phone chimed at 2 a.m., a text from an unknown number. "Hotel Westbrook, room 412. Come alone. Last chance to help V." My heart raced. Was it a trap? Or was someone offering information about my sister? I debated calling Agent Harper, but something held me back. If this was legitimate, involving the FBI might spook whoever sent the message. Instead, I called Mark. "I need backup," I said when he answered, surprisingly alert despite the hour. "Someone's offering information about Vanessa, but it could be a setup. Text me the details. I'll be in the vicinity watching. If you don't come out in 30 minutes, I'll call in reinforcements." It wasn't a perfect plan, but it was better than going in completely alone or missing a potential lead. The Hotel Westbrook was a mid-range business hotel downtown, its lobby deserted at this hour except for a half-asleep desk clerk. I took the elevator to the 4th floor, adrenaline making my hands shake slightly as I approached room 412. I knocked softly. After a moment, the door opened a crack, and I found myself facing a man I'd never seen before. Mid-40s, expensive suit, the polished look of someone accustomed to power. "Ms. Mitchell," he said smoothly, "please come in." Every instinct screamed danger, but I forced myself to step inside. The room was standard hotel fare, with one key difference. My sister sat rigid in a chair by the window, her face pale, eyes wide with fear. "Vanessa," I breathed. "Are you okay?" She gave a slight nod, though everything in her body language suggested otherwise. "Your sister and I have been having a discussion about her outstanding obligations," the man said pleasantly, closing the door behind me. "I'm Richard Klein. I represent certain interests in the Casanova Group." My mouth went dry. I thought she was running. Her email said, "Ms. Vanessa didn't get very far," Klein interrupted. "Our organization has resources that make disappearing quite difficult. Fortunately, she mentioned that you might be willing to help resolve her situation." I glared at Vanessa, who looked away in shame. "I've already told you, I can't get that kind of money," I said firmly to Klein. "And I won't commit crimes to help her." Klein smiled thinly. "Actually, Ms. Mitchell, we're aware of your meeting with the FBI today. That changes the dynamics of our arrangement significantly." My blood ran cold. "How do you—" "As I said, we have resources." He waved away my question. "What matters now is finding a mutually beneficial resolution." "What does that mean?" I asked cautiously. Klein took a seat, gesturing for me to do the same. I remained standing. "The Casanova Group is, first and foremost, a business," he explained. "We prefer to avoid unnecessary complications, including federal investigations. Your sister's debt, while substantial, is ultimately a rounding error in our overall operations. So what do you want?" "Information," he said simply. "Specifically, what exactly did you share with Agent Harper today, and what are the FBI's next steps regarding our organization?" I understood immediately. "You're worried about exposure." "Let's call it prudent risk management," Klein corrected. "In exchange for this information, we're prepared to consider your sister's debt satisfied. She walks away clean, your family remains undisturbed, and everyone returns to their normal lives." It was tempting, so tempting. An easy solution that would protect my family without witness protection or years of legal proceedings. But it would mean betraying federal agents and potentially helping a criminal organization evade justice. "I can't do that," I said finally. "It would be obstruction of justice, potentially aiding and abetting. I'd be trading one set of problems for another." Klein's pleasant demeanor cooled slightly. "I urge you to reconsider. The alternative is less appealing for everyone involved." "Is that a threat?" I asked directly. "An observation," he replied. "Your sister made commitments she couldn't fulfill. There are always consequences for such failures." I looked at Vanessa, who was silently pleading with her eyes. For a moment, I was transported back to our childhood. Vanessa breaking a vase and begging me to take the blame. Vanessa copying my homework and swearing it would be the last time. Vanessa borrowing my car in high school and returning it with a dent she couldn't explain. Always the same pattern. Vanessa makes poor choices, Vanessa faces consequences. Vanessa expects others to save her. I have a counter-proposal, I said, turning back to Klein. Let my sister go. Consider her debt erased. In exchange, I won't tell the FBI about this meeting or your involvement specifically. He laughed softly. That's not how this works. You're not in a position to negotiate. I disagree, I said, surprising myself with my steady voice. You clearly value discretion and risk management. The FBI already has substantial documentation about the Casanova Group's operations from our meeting today. If anything happens to me, my sister, or any member of my family, a detailed account of this conversation, including your name and description, will be automatically sent to Agent Harper. It was a bluff, but delivered with the confidence of someone who specializes in financial evidence and documentation. Klein studied me for a long moment, reassessing. You're either very brave or very foolish, Ms. Mitchell. I'm a forensic accountant who specializes in building cases against financial criminals, I replied evenly. I understand leverage. Right now, a quiet resolution serves your interests better than escalation. Another long silence as he considered his options. Very well, he finally said. A compromise, then. Ms. Vanessa's debt will be reduced to $100, a much more manageable sum. You have 1 week to arrange payment. In exchange, there will be no further contact or repercussions for your family. I shook my head. No payment. The debt is erased completely. My sister has already paid with everything she stole from my parents. Over $300, $1,000 by my calculations. Your organization has already profited significantly from her addiction. Klein's eyes narrowed. You're overplaying your hand. Am I? The FBI is already investigating. Agents are watching my parents' house as we speak. You said yourself that my sister's debt is a rounding error in your operations. Is it worth the additional scrutiny to pursue it? The tension in the room was palpable as Klein considered his options. Finally, he nodded almost imperceptibly. Ms. Vanessa's debt is canceled, but understand this, she is never to approach our establishments or operations again. If she does, all arrangements are void. Agreed, I said immediately. Klein stood, straightening his already immaculate suit. Our business is concluded. I suggest you both leave immediately and forget this meeting ever occurred. He walked to the door and opened it, making it clear our discussion was over. I helped Vanessa to her feet. She seemed almost in shock, and guided her into the hallway. As the door closed behind us, she collapsed against me, sobbing. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what else to do. They found me at the bus station. They said they'd hurt everyone if I didn't help them. Let's get out of here, I whispered, supporting her weight as we walked toward the elevator. We'll talk in the car. Mark was waiting in the parking lot, tense and alert. His relief at seeing me was palpable. Everything okay? He asked, eyeing Vanessa suspiciously. As okay as it can be, I replied. Can you follow us to make sure we're not tailed? He nodded, and I helped Vanessa into my car. She was still trembling, tears streaming down her face. Elizabeth, I don't know how to thank you, she began as I started the engine. Don't, I cut her off. I didn't do it for you. I did it to protect our family, Mom, Dad, and especially Lily. You've caused enough damage. She flinched at my tone but didn't argue. What happens now? I pulled out of the parking lot, checking the rearview mirror to ensure Mark was behind us. Now we go to my apartment tomorrow. We meet with Agent Harper and explain that you've returned and are ready to cooperate fully with their investigation. But you told that man... I told him I wouldn't mention this specific meeting or his name, I corrected. You're still going to tell the FBI everything else about the Casanova Group, their operations, their methods, the names and locations you do know. You owe that much. At least. She was quiet for a long moment. And then what? Prison? Probably, I said honestly. though your cooperation will likely reduce the sentence. The theft from Mom and Dad, the fraud, the false accusations against Lily. There have to be consequences, Vanessa. Can't we just start over? I'll get help for the gambling. I'll pay back Mom and Dad somehow. I glanced at her incredulously. Do you really think it's that simple? That you can just apologize and everything goes back to normal? You destroyed our parents' retirement. You traumatized my daughter. You put our entire family at risk. Some things can't be undone. The harsh reality of her situation seemed to finally sink in. Vanessa slumped in her seat, the last of her manipulative energy draining away. I never meant for any of this to happen, she whispered. Few people do, I replied, softening slightly. But intentions don't erase consequences. We drove the rest of the way in silence, each lost in our own thoughts about the future. I felt no triumph in my victory over Klein, no satisfaction in Vanessa's defeat, just a bone-deep weariness and the knowledge that our family would never be the same. As we pulled up to my apartment building, I saw Rachel's car still parked where I had left it hours earlier. Lily was inside, sleeping peacefully, unaware of the night's events. Whatever came next, protecting her remained my priority. One more thing, I said to Vanessa before we got out of the car. You will apologize to Lily. You will tell her it was your fault, not hers. You will make absolutely certain she knows she did nothing wrong. Tears welled in Vanessa's eyes again, but she nodded. I will. I promise. It was the first promise from my sister that I actually believed. The road ahead would be long and difficult. Legal proceedings, financial recovery, emotional healing. But as we walked toward my apartment, I felt something I hadn't experienced since this ordeal began. A glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, the truth could set us all free. As I watch Lily sleeping peacefully in Rachel's guest room, the events of the past month feel almost surreal. From being thrown out of my parents' home to confronting dangerous criminals. Life has taken turns I never could have imagined when I first moved back home after my divorce. The truth has a way of surfacing, no matter how deeply it's buried. Sometimes it takes a forensic accountant's persistence to uncover it. Sometimes it erupts violently on its own. For our family, it was a bit of both. Tomorrow will bring new challenges. Vanessa will need to face the legal consequences of her actions. My parents will have to rebuild their financial security from the ashes of betrayal. Lily will need time and support to heal from the trauma of being falsely accused by the people who should have protected her. And me? I'm still figuring that out. What I do know is that families are complicated ecosystems of love, loyalty, resentment, and history. Ours has been fundamentally altered, but not necessarily destroyed. Like a forest after a fire, something new might grow from this devastation. Something more honest, perhaps even stronger in the broken places. I've learned that justice isn't always clean or satisfying. Sometimes it's messy and painful, leaving everyone involved with scars. But hiding from the truth, as Vanessa did for so long, only delays the inevitable reckoning and compounds the damage. As a forensic accountant, I've always believed in the power of evidence, in the story that numbers tell when properly analyzed. But this experience has taught me that human stories are far more complex than balance sheets. People aren't columns of debits and credits that must equal zero at the end of the day. Recovery won't happen overnight. Trust, once shattered, doesn't simply reassemble. It must be rebuilt, piece by painstaking piece. For now, I'll focus on what matters most, ensuring Lily grows up knowing she's loved and believed, creating a stable home where truth is valued over comfortable fiction. And perhaps in time, finding a way to forgive, not because the hurt wasn't real, but because carrying it forever would be too heavy a burden. The ledger of our family history has been forever marked by these events. But the books aren't closed. There are still pages left to write, and for the first time in weeks, I'm cautiously hopeful about what those pages might contain.